Hi there, everybody. Welcome to Truth Tuesday with the one and only Satoshi Sean and little old me. Thank you for joining me last Friday when Westwood was out. Thankfully, he jumped in the chat and he'll be back this Friday, but it was fun to have you, and I am on for happy hour. Sean.
Oh, I thought you were doing. I'm looking at stuff.
Sorry, I changed it up.
Okay, yeah, it froze, and I was like, now you're like, welcome to Tuesday with Satoshi Sean. I was like, yeah, she's doing the intro. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't do an intro this time.
I'm not on.
Posted us up there. Just changing it up while you were looking at something in the background. Sorry.
Yeah, I was looking on Twitter. Hey, everybody. Good to see everyone.
Did you have fun on happy hour?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was cool hanging out with I.am. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, it's been a while since. Well, I mean, we get to on Thursday, but everybody's on, so it's a little different. But
it is much more structured on the Tuesday shows. I mean Thursday shows. Sorry.
Yeah, the Thursday. Well, the Emperor's running the show, So
yeah.
Those are fun. Have you seen this new Monarch app? I wondered if it was the same.
No, yeah, I thought you sent it to me.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same logo, so I thought, well, maybe not, but I didn't know if they could use the name without their permission, or how that worked, or if it's maybe the same project. I don't know.
Monarch.
I had not heard though.
So what are you thinking about the Monarch?
I just felt like it was a good project, and there's brilliant people behind it with many, many patents. And I feel like the timing right now, one of the tweets I saw was the Treasury bought back the Treasury bought back the largest debt. Am I saying that right? Yeah. The U.S. Treasury completes buyback of $14.7 billion worth of debt, the largest Treasury buyback in history. And then with this X money coming out, and Trump's always said no tax on tips. And originally, when you used to be able to send on X, you could tip someone. And so just changing that lane.
That is an interesting question.
Because what is money?
Well, because if you look at big streamers, I mean, they make and these have a goal. It's like, I want to make $4,000 this stream, every stream, and $6,000 a day.
Wow.
I mean, they do make $5 million a year from YouTube or Twitch or Kick or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
But that's $6,000, a stream. But if it's tips, do they have to pay taxes on it?
I wouldn't think so if it's a tip.
And if you're going on X or TikTok or whoever, if anyone's sending you, if you're making money off people sending you even if it's fake money on TikTok with, I don't know, they send you something like Juju Bees or whatever, I don't know. But it's something that you have to buy, and then you send it to them, and then they convert it to money and send it to people. So would that be considered tips or considered? I think it would be, because it's.
So are they going to start charging kids on Fortnite for sending V-Bucks to each other, or start taxing them?
I mean, I guess
for receiving V-Bucks or
for those economies, those
ins or
gray markets. They're supposed to already. That is, they're supposed to, because that's income. You're supposed to, if you sell something on eBay or have a garage sale, you're supposed to keep track and pay taxes on all that stuff.
Not garage sales, and technically you shouldn't be on eBay either, because they've already been sold. They're not new items.
Yeah,
so in the state of Arkansas, There's a
That
lot.
may be what's right, but that's not what is legal. You read when you do your taxes, you read that stuff.
Yeah, that's
If
what
you
in
win a
Arkansas,
lottery ticket, if you win a scratch off for like $100, you're supposed to put that down.
if you sell a car under $5,000, if it's used, you don't pay tax on it. So I would think, why wouldn't that apply to any used item? Why just cars?
Where to your state?
I guess.
When did that start?
I don't know. But my the people that run the store, and they do all the taxes and all that for our store and all that. But she's an accountant, and she actually was working for the state treasury for a while, I think. And she's the one that told me that.
There's no tax, title, and license on used cars anymore?
Under 5,000, you would have title and a tag, but there's no tax in Arkansas under 5,000. That's what she told me. She's working with legislators to clarify the language for other used items,
Arkansas sales tax on used cars is 6.5% of the total sales price. There may be an additional fees, such as $10 title fee and registration fees. It varies. If the total sale price is less than $2,500, no sales tax is in charge. So there's $2,500. But that's not Texas, I'll tell you that. So $2,500. Because I bought cars like back in the day, $500, $700, $300. And
$300. Wow.
Yeah, I told you we used to buy and sell cars all the time.
Yeah. My mom just locked her dog in the office with me, so she's gonna go nuts in a second.
Wow, I'm gonna look at Texas just to see if same 6 point. No, yeah, you just doesn't matter how much it costs. 6.25% of the purchase price on a vehicle, standard presumptive value, or whichever is higher. See, this is bad. So this tax must be paid to the local county office in 30 days of the purchase. It's super bad in Texas because I would buy a car for $300, right?
Okay.
And it's a $3,000 car, but it has something wrong with it or whatever, right? Someone died in it. So if I would go down and pay tax,
I'm so sorry. I have to let my mom's dog out. She's making all kinds of terrible noises. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Hey, everybody. Who's here? Rand, hey. Hey, Jim. It's 4K in Carpenter's, Arkansas. 4K. It's 2,500. Man, so everybody's got different numbers in Arkansas.
Interesting.
But in Texas, they want the money no matter what, right? So I buy this car $300. It's worth $3,000. If I go to pay taxes on it, which I wouldn't, they say, "Hey, this car's worth $3,000. You have to pay taxes on $3,000." And I'm like, "No, I only paid $300." And they're like,
"They don't."
Liar. They say you're a liar because we used to always lie. Like you go buy a car and they're like, "Hey, man, I'll say I'd only charge you $500. You say it, so you don't have to pay the taxes." It was always peer to peer. I learned that when I was 16.
Wow.
The person told me that. They're like, "Hey, just when you go down and do the taxes, tell them I paid $500 for it." And I'll say you paid $500 for it. And I was like, "Why would I do that?" It's like, "Because you have to pay a bunch of taxes on it." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I just thought it was, what grown-ups did. But anyway, so they changed this law where they, they stop people from lying. You can't lie and say you only paid $300. But I'm like, I did only pay $300. I'm, wholesaling it so I can get it fixed and then, we can sell it. And they're like, "Nope, the presumptive value is $3,000. You pay taxes on the $3,000. So the key is you have to sell it like within the 30 days. So I don't have to pay. I didn't own it. You know what I mean? I was like a middleman. Mm-hmm. Everything's set up to protect the middleman. I guess I didn't see that when I was younger, but yeah. So we would, get a car. We would literally go down to Walmart. We go to first you go down to the, your husband would know about this. First you go down to the car wash and literally just spray it inside the car, spray the engine. There's a degreaser. They just the engine make it shine. Go to Walmart, buy $1.50 can of clear coat, spray the hoses, spray the engine, spray everything sparkles, and then you can just double the price
That's terrible,
because
Sean.
everything's super clean and nice and looks great.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy tough. But it's all that flipping. I had a friend. Well, I have to wait till I'll wait till I talk to him about it. But he's working on a project that might help some of that stuff. We'll see.
But it's interesting. Texas taxes on that are just way worse than Arkansas. Way worse. The presumptive thing I thought was, see, I thought that was kind of like everywhere, but no. The presumptive value is what you're taxed on. You can't even get out of it anymore.
Not the actual.
No, it is the actual. That's the thing. You can't say I got a good deal, or so you could either say it was someone gave it to me, but then they hit you with a gift tax. So that's what we would do.
What?
We'd be like, hey, if we say we paid $500 for it, they're going to charge us, like $100 in taxes. But if we say they gave it to us, then they're going to charge us, $150. So we had to always, whatever the whatever the best deal was, we would say we pay the gift tax or pay the the amount.
How much more is the gift tax?
I don't know, but it's high.
Wow.
So, I wonder. Yeah, I don't know. My uncle died, and he had just bought a new Cadillac like 6 months before he died. And my aunt's like, I really don't need this car, but we paid $40,000 for this car. He's like, and I was 16, so
Yeah, that's a
she's
lot.
like, Sean, I want to give you this car because I don't need it, but it costs like as much as a crappy house. She was like, I was like, yeah, I'm not asking for your car, but I would have not been able to afford the taxes on that.
There you go.
A 16-year-old with no job with a gift of 40 grand.
Yeah, I have a girlfriend in college that she turned 21, went to Vegas, and she won a Jag. But she couldn't afford the taxes on it.
Yeah.
So they let her drive it from the casino to the dealership, where she took like a cash settlement thing instead.
That's usually people that you got to pay tax on the cash because it's, it's still a prize or.
But at least she got a portion of it. It's like when people win the lottery or whatever, and they take the cash.
Or just game shows in general. There was, like The Price is Right was terrible because you just win stuff,
And then you'd have to go home, register it all, and
they have a tax guy at every show from the state. That as soon as the show's over, he's like, "Hey, everybody, come here, sign this. You have 30 days to pay this, pay that." And people were like, they would like get into debt from winning stuff on the Price is Right. It was very bad.
So wrong.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you won a $25,000, thing at the end of the show. What's called the showcase. And then they're like, hey, we won our $2,500. And I'm like, what? And that was back in the 80s when it was like 2 months worth of income, 3 months worth of income.
Wow. It's just such theft. Like, it's so frustrating.
It is. And the fact that they would have it's like so lucrative that they have a representative there.
They're at the
they have a money cop at the game shows is ridiculous.
They're everywhere. Yeah. Interesting. What was that? One of our friends said something about woo-woo at the beginning of the show. I think it was Glenn. Yeah. He says, some freaky woo-woo. I am going to share one thing. I watched the Melania show last night.
You did the movie?
The movie, yeah. Mom and I watched it together. And she's just such a class act. Like, I just adore her. And my mother and Melania. But at the very end of the movie, or towards the end of the movie, there was this moment where Trump walks by this painting and he says, "Oh, I love this painting," or something like that. And he says it was donated by JFK's family. And the name of the picture is Good Weather by Claude Monet. Morning on the Seine, and then Good Weather was what it's called. And it made me think, when this girl posted that, I was like, oh, I do remember that. And so I wondered if that was a nod, because I think we could all use some good weather, and maybe this storm is over. I heard, Trump was speaking last night or this morning and saying that Putin's going to help him, wants to help, and in the Middle East, and they're basically doing it through not violence, but like cutting off oil or whatever. So.
Speaking of not violence, and speaking of violence,
mm-hmm.
So no one's really talking about this, but Trump said this, which I thought was pretty, I don't want to say dickish, but it was, you could tell what he was doing. He said, hey, we're going to blow the shit out of Iran or anyone else that tries to mess with the flow of oil in the Strait of Hormuz, right?
Hormuz, yeah.
And he's like, but we really don't need it. He said, this is a gift to China and to these other countries, because they're the ones that are so dependent on this oil. We'll make sure it gets to them. They should be thankful. And I was like, oh, but that's not what's not being reported. Taiwan, remember them?
Yes.
Remember China was going to invade them, and everything was scared about that, and we're going to go to war. China, they were ramming ships, and they were being super huge assholes, illegal assholes. They're like pushing to fight us, right? They were razzing our boats. They were messing with us, but they were flying incursions with their jets into Taiwanese airspace daily.
Charlie was just talking about this, and that's something to do with the oil deal.
Well, so they're flying daily incursions into Taiwanese airspace, basically saying, "Screw you, we don't care. We're China, and we can do what we want. We're gonna invade you." And then even our military was saying, "Hey, these aren't drills. This is preparations for them invading." The day we attacked Iran, they've stopped. They haven't flown jets into airspace since the first day, and they used to do it every day. So it's been like a week and a half, and they have not flown one time. They have pulled back on everything. Russia has kind of pulled back on everything as being friendly with us. The only person who is stepping it up is a little pan face guy, North Korea. That's it. And he also looks different.
Yeah, a lot of them do.
And he is taking a much harder stance against us.
Really? I hadn't. That's news to me.
Exact words: we can be good friends or lifelong mortal enemies, or something like that. It was like, for all time we will be
getting a little big in his britches.
It was like, we're okay. But he said he's putting all of his resources towards nuclear armament. But I thought it was a really big deal that China pulled back everything. And they're like, Taiwan? Who's that? We don't know what Taiwan is. What are you talking about? Taiwan.
Wasn't us.
Who the heck is Taiwan?
That'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Because I know a lot of this seems like it is exposure. Like, they're saying that there's a lot of talk about the sleeper cells, and that they stopped one or they caught it. And then, like, over the weekend, right now is spring break for those of you that don't have children in school. And so a lot of families are traveling, and there have been a lot of airports shut down. I think Mom was saying one in Florida today, maybe. And then Kansas City was over the weekend, and they got everybody out of there. They canceled all JetBlue flights, the FAA, and saying that they needed inspections on all their planes. So, like, I don't know, all that kind of stuff just seems like they're kind of manipulating things. So we'll see.
It is weird.
It's
The
weird.
airport shutdowns I thought were very odd.
Hmm.
I did think they were super, super odd.
And they're trying to say that I guess TSA is still working but not being paid because of the government partial shutdown, which I met those people. They are not nice to me, and I have a hard time believing they're working for free.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I got so much stuff past airport security, like weapons and shit, which, not here, but in Europe. And then, but I was always, I turned into a bad kid when I was like 12, 13. And I looked, I looked really bad.
I know, yeah.
So I was like 6 foot tall and had a beard and everything. And I'm just going through. I didn't have anything on me or whatever, and I was going back to the States, I think, or coming back, and oh no, I think we were leaving, and security took me, and they took me to a little tiny room, like a big closet, and I was like, what's going on? Because I'm a kid. I was actually a little scared.
You didn't know your rights and tell them to keep you out in public.
You don't have rights. I was in a different country.
Yeah.
So, and they took me away from my parents, and they were like going through all my clothes, going through like that I'm wearing, and I had a little Walkman, and they're like, "What is this?" It's like, "This is my Walkman." It's like, "It's AC/DC." Well, let's do it. It's really cool. And they're like, "You must play it. Let's see it works." And I had to play it that it was a real, that it wasn't like full of drugs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they went through everything, and they like took my cigarettes out and like dumped them all out, and I had to put them back in the box and everything. It was very different than when I was a little like nerdy looking kid with orange corduroy pants, but had like Rambo knives in my jean, legs.
That's when that was the old America. There was a commercial on, or maybe it was just a thread or something, but it was talking about kids growing up in the 80s, and there were no phones, and you came home and it was dark, and your parents didn't know where you were all day, and all the things that you did, and we were the largest generation of latchkey children.
Yeah, but we were so much smarter. Like I've had the same phone number for 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
People who get in trouble will put down my phone number if they get like at the hospital or arrested or something, because it's the only number in their life that's been around for that long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I don't know my kids' numbers, and I've been paying for them for 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't know them because it says their name.
You don't use it.
I don't use it.
I know my daughters, but that's just.
I remember my phone number from when I was 5 in a different state that, we only had for 3 years until we moved. But I still remember that phone. We had to remember phone numbers. We had to remember how to get somewhere. This is the weirdest thing. Would go somewhere, like to a friend's by Austin. And I would tell my kids, just meet me there. Like, well, I don't know how to get there. I'm like, we drove there 3 times. Like, yeah. I'm like, if you drive somewhere once, you know where it is. Because our brains were like, you have to remember this to know how to get there. Now, you just give me the address. I'll put it in my GPS.
Yeah, they don't have to consciously be thinking about where that is.
That's a great word.
Yeah.
No, they don't have to unconsciously. That's the thing. We quit unconsciously remembering how to get somewhere because we know we don't have to. Literally, I'm like, dude, we've driven here 3 or 4 times, but you don't have to remember. So we don't we turn off that part of our brain now.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't need to. And I'm the same way. Like it took me probably 20 times driving there to where now I remember. But at first it was just GPS. And then I would remember, oh, this gas station that has this weird sign. That's where I turn. Weird sign gas, but it's a weird sign gas station. And still, like the last turn, I gotta. It's a little hard, but it's so odd to me. Not just that you can't read a map. That's the main thing. Everyone's like, oh, no one can read a map anymore. They don't know how to read a map because of GPS. But I think it's way deeper. We turn off that part of our brain. Literally, you went somewhere one time, and you're expected to know how to get there. It's like
right. My husband, to your point, my husband said when he was little, his great grandmother walked him to kindergarten one time and said, "This is how you go to school, and this is how you come back." You know, kindergarten. He's 4 or 5 years old.
Exactly.
You were supposed to remember how to get home. Now these kids, they would be totally lost. I don't think they can make it.
Yeah, and the government would step in and be like, "Hey, you let this kindergartner just didn't pick up."
Yeah.
But the school might not let him walk home.
No, that's true. I don't know what the rules are, but like we just live down the street from elementary school, and there's always traffic at in the morning and at 3 o'clock to pick up, and I'm just like, why don't these kids just walk? Like it's just like there's tons of housing like over that way from the school, not near us, but in a different direction, and you don't see any of them walking. They all either ride a bus or get picked up.
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah, that's weird. I'm trying to think. And if you missed the bus, you walked.
Oh, yeah.
I lived in this apartment building at the edge of town. Here's big apartment building, skyrise thing. Here's just farmland, right? Farmland all the way back up this little mountain, big hill, and then there's an airport airstrip, and then there's this big, the biggest base of it's just housing, and my school, right, and then my building, my apartment building in the German town, all the way down. Then there's a military base.
Yeah.
So it's probably like a mile and a half, 2 miles versus 3 miles, right?
Yeah.
So I get up, walk to the bus. Crap, I missed the bus. 5 minutes. Now I got to walk from here
all the way
back to here.
Oh my gosh!
Through the Germans' farmland, and then there was this little like natural spring where honestly I just lay down and skip school and drink spring water and like eat my lunch and hang out and watch airplanes come in. Walk up this mountain, right? Hill, very steep hill, and then cross the airstrip to get to my school, which is right there. But yeah, that was, and no one showed me that. Like I could see that from like the 8 stories up. It's like, oh, that's my school over there. Oh, that's so I had to like do that, figure out that on my own.
Oh, I know what else I was going to ask you. I don't know if you have a lot of knowledge about like Air Force stuff because you were raised in the Army, right? So there's this big military base here called Fort Chaffee, and for years they've had these, done the fighter jets and all this kind of stuff because they had such a long runway. And then there was some noise about, I don't know, a couple years ago that they were going to be moving in a bunch of military families because they were going to take over the private or the public airport in Fort Smith, and the military was going to be running it. Well, then there was just one of the presidential planes were here over the weekend, and they're escorting some people with 4 and 5 big black SUVs all over town. Of course, everyone's talking about it because it's a very small town. And they said they were, and we just got those F-35s brought in here, which were from the Finnish, whatever, I guess Finland made them, and then we're buying them, or maybe it's vice versa. I'm not really 100% sure, but there was something about Finland and these F-35s that were coming in. Mom and I saw some of them land once or twice, or maybe they were training the people or something, but they're using the public airport, city airport. And then the news on the people being escorted was that they were bringing in diplomats or military people. I can't remember what it was, but from another country, whatever. And they were taking them to Ebbing Air Force Base, is what they said. And it is a National Guard Air Force base. I've never even heard of a National Guard Air Force. Have you?
Well, Air Guard is what it's called.
Okay.
I know there's a Texas Air Guard. It's a Texas Air Force, but that's like we have the Texas. That Bush Jr. didn't go to Vietnam because he was in the Texas Air Guard.
Okay.
He was a pilot in the Air Guard, but I thought it was
a Texas.
Yeah.
Well, so we've lived here for years. I mean, I went to high school. My last 2 years of high school at a town close by here, and Fort Smith was the big place that you went to go shopping and whatever. I've never heard of this National Guard base ever on that airport. And all of a sudden, it's got dignitaries flying in our presidential, the light blue planes, and people being driven
around. I've never heard of a National Guard base.
If you look up Ebbing National Guard Base, it's at the Fort Smith Airport.
Pull it up. I've heard of National Guard armories, and that's where they go and they train. But I've never heard of a base. That's not a Texas.
Maybe I'm using the wrong word. Ebbing.
A Texas Guard base is we have Texas, which is on North Fort Hood. It's small, but. And I think it has to operate under some kind of weird.
Oh, it's also called the 188th Wing. It says a wing hosted by more than 133 Civil Air Patrol cadets from Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma.
Civil Air. That sounds something more like, yeah.
Rhode Island, Kansas, Massachusetts for their 2023 encampment. That's so weird. Okay, hold on. Ebbing. Here's a Facebook for them. Ebbing National Guard. Hold on. Let me share this with you guys so you guys can watch. See what I'm saying. Ebbing Air National Guard Base. See?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. 188th wing. When we get to 88, that's a big Q thing, about 88. And they're home of the Flying Razorbacks. And there's like a drone of some kind. Building allied power and generating readiness. That was yesterday. This must be the guy. Okay. They were honored to host Air Force Chief of Staff General Ken Wilsbach and CMA, SAF, whatever, David Wolf. They saw how the 33rd Fighter Wing is building allied air power, but training our FSM partners on the F-35. The visit focused on readiness, modernization, and strength of total workforce alongside our hosts. It's very weird. And see, I don't know what all these, like this guy's all excited. CSAF at Fort Smith, nice. I don't know what a CMSAF is or CSAF.
So I looked it up, and it's very weird.
Are these Canadians? Or are they?
What do you? Huh?
I was just wondering if this is like Canadian military. Is this?
No.
Who are they? U.S. Air Force.
That guy's a general. Yeah.
4-star and his other badge. I can't see his other badge.
So there are It's weird. So I put in
Polish Air Force. His jacket says Polish Air Force.
He looks pretty Polish.
Looks like my family. Yes. Interesting.
Here, I'll look at this. So
there's the F-35. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sharing.
Okay.
But are there National Guard bases? Yes, there are National Guard bases located in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and several U.S. territories. These bases are serve as training and operational facilities for National Guard units. And then it gives them, but there's only a few. So Fort Drum, it's not a National Guard base. Fort Drum is a huge Army base in New York.
Oh.
Camp Grayling, Rickenbacker, Joint Base San Antonio, no. Often Airport, Camp Pendleton, that's one of the biggest bases in California. That's not. So these are just on military bases. They have a section for the National Guard, which is what we have here. Even the Texas Guard didn't. You know how I made a big deal when we started building the bases down on the border.
But look how they don't even mention Arkansas in that list.
Yeah, that's
weird.
Here we go. How do National Guard bases differ from active duty military bases? I want how they explain, because it's on. National Guard bases typically serve part-time service members and are often used for training and local missions, while active duty bases are full-time installations. It's the same installation, you know. It's if you're at Fort Drum.
See, but on the map, it's not in the same physical place as Fort Chaffee for Arkansas.
Here, look, I'll bring up Fort Drum. Fort Drum, Jefferson County, New York. Fort Drum is a U.S. Army military reservation, almost 13,000 troops back in 2010. So Fort Drum is an Army base. There's nothing here about National Guard.
Colorado Springs, he says. Gazoo says that CSAF meant Colorado Springs Air Force. Isn't that be right?
Colorado Springs. So they have the Air Force Academy there in Colorado Springs.
Didn't know that.
That's the biggest Air Force. They also have Fort Carson Army Base, big Army base. Colorado Springs they have a few bases, but the Air Force Academy is the biggest Air Force. There. It's odd.
It's strange.
You know, they used to be very, very separate, because the president couldn't touch our National Guard. That was a big thing. That was state militia. The governor was the commander in chief. It was literally, that's how it was set up, you know. And I've been going back and looking at a lot of the old stuff, from the original 13 colonies, and it was there were 13 countries, and we were help each other out, and it was, you know, and that was the whole point of the rebellion. It's hey, we need each other. It was they're really messing with Massachusetts. They're coming down hard on Virginia. We either stand with them and help them, or they're going to just come for all of us and then take over. That was one of the biggest things of we have to unite and help poor Massachusetts and poor Virginia. And that's what's kind of brought it together. But it wasn't supposed to be you know, it is that we think of America or the United States. Our National Guard was supposed to be a state army, state militia. I don't want to know, a state army. And then the commander in chief was the governor. And ever since Clinton allowed people to get sent,
I remember you telling me about that.
Maybe there's that's this gray area now where all these. it's a base. It's a army base, but it's also to say Fort Drum is a National Guard base. That's ridiculous.
It's very strange. There's a lot of things, a lot of changes. Of course, in that NDAA back in, God, when was that? 2020? I think it was 2020. There was like the largest transfer of property from military bases. Like they sold one in Hawaii. They sold several Air Force bases, and then there was a huge transfer of financial support as well. So
speaking of transfer of that, so remember I told you, and they're it's kind of I guess we'll talk about this for a minute, but so you talking about the Air Force base, and that got me thinking. So with this Iran thing, you know how England said we couldn't use our own Air Force bases, let alone their Air Force bases, to attack Iran, which is a big thing. Spain said the same thing. Germany, we have this huge base in Germany, Air Force base. It's one of the biggest in the world. It's the second biggest in the world. It's by Bergstrom Air Force Base, I believe. But anyway, we used it to attack Iran, and Germans said, "Hey, we have this agreement that we've had forever. We've signed it. It says any use of the base at all." Which, when they signed it, they were not in a very good bargaining position. But okay. But so Spain could make some could tell us no. England said no, but Germany, they're like, hey, we have to let them use it. But now people are like, hey, we don't really like that. But it's in a town called Kaiserslautern, and we just called it K-Town there. But still, it's really huge. There's like they were checking like local businesses, and they're like, hey, we love the American base. It's literally like 40 to 50% of our business. We need it for especially entertainment and stuff like that. Like a go-kart place. It's like half of the people that come here, from the base. So there's giant Air Force base, giant Army base there. There's also a place called Landstuhl where there's like a few bases, but there's like the largest hospital, like one of the largest in Europe, and it's U.S. Army hospital. And all this stuff's built on old Nazi facilities. So it's all stuff that's like really old buildings and things. The hospital is neat because there's this whole underground tunnel system that's real modern, and it has these colored strips on the floor. So it's like if you're going to this place, you follow the blue line.
Yeah. And many hospitals have those.
This is all underground, but there's no windows or anything. But it's like whenever I talk about like things doctors told me that were kind of crazy, it's like everyone's like, "Is that a real doctor?" I was like, "Yeah." Where was it? It's like, well, he's in a tunnel, under the hospital, but it was a real doctor. He told me, yeah, like, okay. This doctor told me I was homophobic when I was 12, but it was a clinical. It was not what you think it is now. I was like, he said, if anything goes
inappropriate conversation for a 12-year-old.
No, if they checked me, in my butt, I would throw up and I pass out. And he said, oh, you're homophobic. If anything goes up your butt, you'll pass out and throw up. And I was like, okay, homophobic. So I was like, I'm homophobic. Telling people I'm homophobic since I was a little kid. I was like, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm homophobic. And then it, this word comes out and it means something
like different. You're lactose intolerant.
Like, no, that's not what it means. It means if anything goes in your butt, you pass out and you throw up. And
I had a doctor under the tunnel tell me that.
So. Yeah, and it's like, who told you? I'm like, the doctor. Where? Well, it's in the tunnel in the Nazi hospital, but it's, it was a real dog. And it's like, no. That's what he said.
Stories.
But so there's so there's so many like Americans there, and when I was in Europe, it was like 10 times more. There were almost like a million people that were US in Europe. And these areas were very American because so much of the population was
The
American.
military, yeah.
Was, it's the same thing like when you look at like Britain and all these countries that are bringing in all these illegal immigrants, how it's like drastically changing, and there's,
Mhm.
No British food, but there's all this African food. And it was the same way. I mean, it was, but people were so proud of their culture. Like there was no Domino's, there was no pizza, there was like a McDonald's, but it was like 2 towns away, and it was in the city. You
Mhm.
couldn't get McDonald's unless you went to Ludwigsburg or Stuttgart. Um, Now, completely different. There's literally like I think 2 Domino's in the little town that I grew up in, and it's way different. So, but all of these bases, like I said, there was well over a million troops and people there, and then families more. But they're all like a lot of them are closed, like probably half. But all of these buildings have been just given back to the Germans, and they are nice. They're all like very nice housing. They're all rentals, they're apartments, they're condos. It's insane. Um, because I went and looked. Let me look. How would I look?
So it's no longer a military base. It's been given back to the German
Half,
people.
like half of
Wow.
military bases
Okay.
are that way all across Europe, and they housed, but they housed people, like lots and lots of people, but they also had uh, stuff, you know, um, tons and tons of stuff. And all of those buildings that had the stuff have been turned into um, like housing.
Mm.
So let me see here. See if we can. Let me show you.
Are you sharing a page?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go. Here we go. Can you? Let me. Am I sharing? No.
No, it's not sharing.
Okay. It's okay. I gotcha. Here we go. So look at this.
Okay.
Okay. So this is just for families, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now this soccer field, these are always fields. They kept the same name. They put Strasse instead of street, Arkansas Street, John F. Kennedy, Ali, New York. So it's funny. But all of these are now apartment buildings for
For public use.
for out. Yeah, but I don't know who owns them. Who it gave to? Texas Strasse. Um, Farmers. So this is a school. This was my old school, and this is now it's a school. So they didn't like repurpose that. There's a field. The airstrip still here.
Okay.
Uh,
Interesting.
yeah. So here's what I'll climb up. Here's the farmer's field. So where is that? I think this is where the was it here? Anyway, it's around here where the spring was that I used to like hang out,
Oh, how fun.
and climb up and cross this and go to school. But this is an ambulance, doctor's office. This is medical stuff. This was like stores. This was the bowling alley. So this is all new. They tore down the bowling alley. But this is all just given. And this is one. This was there was over 1,000 families that lived here, right? And then this was the high school. It's also still a shula, still a school. This is a Liddy, or like a store. So this was the DYA, or the like youth stuff, which is all the
Okay.
stuff back here. But then if you went just up here. Used to break through a fence back here, and then walk through here. Brought us to Groomsville. Where's Groomsville? No. Here we go. This is Groomsville. So these were all another bunch of families. Missouri Strasse, St. Charles. So these are high rises, and all these are turned into housing also. And then where is it? So then there was another base here. This is where my mother worked after they took away her job and all. She worked here. But look at all this housing and stuff from this other base called Ludendorff.
So is that still military, or that's been given back to the city?
It's a lotto administration office. All this is closed. So let me go out here. So going back, airfield. So here is where, like, I used to live.
Mm-hmm.
Right, there's my high rise that I've come down here and walk through the farmer's field, and then first I had to walk to get the bus, which I'd walk down here. So this was another whole base that has been given. This was Ludendorff base that all just handed over all this housing. There's billions and billions of dollars worth of.
Yeah.
Each one of these is like a couple $1,000,000. It's probably like.
And theoretically, all those families came home.
Yeah, they did. They're closed. They closed down. Now I just showed you what four bases within 10 miles.
It's wild.
So it's crazy.
But then for them to be giving or opening bases under National Guard.
So it's odd, but I mean, can you imagine the impact to the economy? I told you those four huge bases, right?
Yeah.
Within 10 miles. So that's like just a regular town.
Yeah.
Here. So let's say it's 20 miles. To lose that many people is going to kill an economy. But the economy it's done very well, obviously. And then they created these suburbs because it is on the outlier of like two major cities in Germany. So I don't know. I thought it was pretty weird. And we're talking about like leaving stuff behind. I wonder how we didn't sell that to the German government.
I mean, there were tremendous numbers of real estate deals. I mean, of selling the property that went on back. I think it was 2020. It might have been 2019, but it was. We read through the entire NDAA. Mm-hmm. It was me in public, and so it would be on my Woo Woo Wednesday playlist, probably in 2020 around December or January, and it was pretty significant. So,
for where?
For all the sales, the transfer of like selling off the air bases and specifically the Air Force bases, it was significant.
In the U.S. or other countries?
All over the world. Yeah. I mean, the Hawaii one stuck out to me in my memory. So, and that's technically U.S. I can't remember if it listed. I really can't remember what other ones it listed. It's been a long time. It's been a long 6 years.
It's weird because a lot of the places had the same name, even though they were like
American names. Yeah, in a German town.
No, the bases were named German base after the German bases.
Okay.
Like Ludendorff was a general.
Okay.
And that was the base of my house. I'm trying to see when they closed it. I don't think it was 2021, but center building. There's a lot of stuff people talking about memories being stationed there. But see, I think that they were like on loan to the U.S. government, but like, forever. So then when we moved out, I guess we just handed it over. We did probably trillions of dollars in
Like those leases for 99 years for a penny lease or whatever. That
yeah.
kind of contract.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I don't know, but it does seem like things are changing and coming out in the open. We're starting to see more and more. So
there's a woo-woo thing I wanted to show you.
oh, yeah.
It's just weird. I think it's just weird. So I wanted to show it to you. You know how we talked about the Trump, Barron Trump time travel book thing?
Yeah. Westwood taught me about it. I never had heard of it. What's funny is Ingersoll, there's a Ingersoll and a Lockwood, or Ingersoll Lockwood Drive in Fort Smith.
So hold on.
Just kind of funny.
How do I get out of this? ESC. Give me a second. I can do it.
You can find it.
I can do it, Lisa. I can do it.
Is this another Ingersoll Lockwood book, or?
No, it was written by a different person.
Okay.
Actually, you'll find it quite interesting. Where are you at? Here we go. So let me get one more. And then move that here. Okay. Okay, now I can do that. All right. Hold on. Okay.
Tell me when.
And here. Paste and go. You're going to give me trouble, aren't you?
I'm not going to get in trouble.
Talking about the... There we go. No, okay. Accept. Here we go. Okay.
I don't see anything.
Yes, because it's very slow.
Oh, okay.
All right, now I got it. And of course, I give up. Okay. Screw you. All right, now I got to
Send
find
it to me in private chat and I
Oh,
can
no, that's what I'm going to do.
on my side.
Just trying to open it in a different browser and do all that, but okay.
Okay. I was like, you seem frustrated. Okay, share this tab instead.
This is a book that was written in 1977.
Mm-hmm.
Play it and play the sound there.
Okay.
Bring it back. Bring it. Start over.
It's
there.
Leslie Epstein. You can read some of this if you want. This is the
Start
synopsis,
over.
and it's about a person named...
Hold on.
Yeah, there you go.
Novel of the Holocaust by Leslie Epstein.
Leslie Epstein, King of
I'm
the
sure that's just a very common name. And
So this is one of the weirdest books that I've ever found thrift shopping. It's called King of the Jews, a novel by Leslie Epstein, and you're like, oh, well, whatever. Like, it's Epstein. Ah! It's Leslie Epstein. You can read some of this if you want. This is the synopsis, and it's about a person named I.C. Trumpelman, who used his power to set up an authoritarian regime in the ghetto. His picture appeared on money and stamps. His word was law. Alternative con man, charismatic leader. Like, I feel like, it's like, no, I'm not Jeffrey Epstein. I'm Leslie Epstein. And like, they have like fake.
I thought that was just weird.
bizarre.
It's very strange.
I have a record. Where is that? And it has something weird like that, like Epstein was a producer on it or something weird like that.
Oh yeah, he was connected to strange, things that are coming out now are weird.
Is it an Elton John record though? It's. I have to go. I'll find it before happy hour Friday and talk about it. But
It's so it's weird, but I don't feel. It's so I don't because I understand, like when people were talking about shocked that he would have a massage by some girl and be like, hey, why don't you jerk me off, or if you're a billionaire, you know what I mean, and you're a slimy billionaire, he's not like breaking the law. He's a dick. He's an asshole. He's a creepy.
Well, the problem was he's doing this with children.
Yeah, that's all. But people were shocked when he has like a 27-year-old masseuse, and he's like, "Hey, baby, why don't you go down? Throw you a couple grand." That's like, I would expect that from a sleazy billionaire. You know what I mean? I'm not shocked. It's like, but I wouldn't be like friends with the guy, because he's a sleazy dude. But that's what sleazy people do,
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're super rich and you have time, I would be like, hey, I like Elton John. Why don't I use my money to get in and produce a record?
Be a producer or something.
You just do, like, you have the ability to do shit that you just like. So, I can see why he has, I can understand why you're putting your tentacles and stuff because you're doing, evil work for an intelligence agency. But some things are just like,
they're also just bored and
you can do whatever. I talk about AC/DC. I'd be like, hey, I could have AC/DC to the island and just have like a regular party and have them play. You know what I mean? You could do anything if you're that rich and had that. Why wouldn't you do stuff that's halfway normal?
I'm sure they did normal and unnormal things. It's just all. Tim Burchett was just on with, I can't remember the name of their show. Anyway, on an interview, and he was saying like the stuff in these files is so satanic, evil, sickening that most people are not gonna be able to really believe it, grasp it. I don't know.
Ever since the Hellfire Club thing, I'm like, dude, shit's been going the same way for a long freaking time.
Yeah.
That's what I think the founding fathers, if you think about it, in 1776, that was like just after they would have all realized this satanic club and group of deep state was running their government in England. That's why they came over here. That's part of the religious freedom.
Right.
Why were Christians persecuted so much in jolly old England? When you start seeing stuff like the Hellfire Club, it kind of makes sense. Those are the people in power. Those are the people who are running things.
Well, that's where Trump was tweeting yesterday or today or truthing and said, we don't need the UK anymore.
That was nice.
We never did, or something like that.
No, he said that because he said we don't need you, and he said we don't need allies that want to come in and help us with a war after we've won.
After we won,
He said we could have used your aircraft carriers a week ago, but no, thank you. We don't need you now, and we will remember.
And we will remember. That was it. Yeah. And we will remember. I hope we will remember one of these days that we are free and that we were trying to escape, that our founding fathers were escaping that system. And maybe we'll choose that again. Well, I'm going to run. I appreciate you. And I loved going down this little military rabbit hole with you. It was a lot of fun. And thanks for sharing this stuff on Germany. That was very interesting as well. So.
Yeah, you remember during Clinton where he was closing down all the army bases, military bases?
No, I didn't know that.
Just our military is too big. We wanted to cut it in half. We wanted to cut the military in half.
Interesting.
And then the Iraq War happened. The first one, Desert Shield, first because they invaded Kuwait. So anyway, where I live, Fort Hood, everybody was deployed. This was a ghost town. Everything was shutting down. Businesses were going out. Real estate dropped. But real estate was dropping everywhere around military bases because it was uncertainty. There's fear, uncertainty, and doubt because it's like, is our base on the list to get closed?
Right, right.
Everyone's like, dude, it's Fort Hood. It's the biggest base, in the world. They won't close this one.
Right.
Some people are like, it's the biggest base. They would only have to close this. They could keep like 4 others,
Yeah.
Long story short, there was a whole cul-de-sac in our ghetto of 3 streets, two streets really. But it was 3 or 4 duplexes, brick duplexes, nice duplexes, 2 bedrooms. All 3 or all 4 of them were, I think, $27,000 to own the whole street. I was 19 and just married with 2 kids and 2 on the way.
2 on the way, yeah.
Working at Domino's, which you couldn't find a job because everything was shutting down. All the husbands went off to war, and all the wives went back to their states.
Their homes, yeah,
So
their
there's
mothers.
nothing here.
Yeah.
I walked into Domino's with a 3-piece suit on, and I got hired. And that was like the 1,000th place I'd been to. Anyway, I was like, man, we should buy these duplexes. We could live in one and rent out all the other ones, pay our mortgages. And what if they do shut the base down? I don't know. I'm only 19. Dude, those would be worth so much.
I can't even imagine. You should look them up on Zillow sometime and see how much they're worth.
Last time I had, I think they were like 150 or something.
A piece, yeah.
Which the rent would be probably like $700 a month or something for, what is that, times 5? Now I could live in one. But yeah, that was life.
We all have those choices every day, and we can't look back and have regret. Just learn from it and then move forward, make a better choice.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I love you all. Thank you for watching and all your comments. Please like and share on both of our channels. There is a link to go to Sean's channel in the description of my video below. And Sean is streaming it, so it should go there as well. But anyway, have a great week and stay safe. There's a lot of bad weather coming. But, I thought the storm, what did Trump say? Good weather. We're supposed to have good weather from the video. So we'll see.
Love y'all.
Take care. Bye.